Hi guys, DT here. Welcome to the Super Little Challenges podcast, available wherever you get your pods and right here on YouTube. My guest on this episode is a successful entrepreneur, Edwin Carrion. Edwin has founded a number of private companies. He also has a military background. He was very savvy in a business sense from a very young age, and it was really cool to have him share his insights. Enjoy this one, guys. Let's go.
I like your podcast, because the challenges that you're doing and all those things that you change. So that's what was very interesting to me when she booked you guys for me to be in your podcast. So I was really appreciative about that.
Have you always considered yourself an entrepreneur? Is that something that you sensed early on?
I wouldn't say that I have considered myself as an entrepreneur always, but because I guess you don't know when you realize that you're an entrepreneur, right? But thinking back and looking back at, since I was a child and a little kid, 14 years old, that's when I started washing cars. So my entrepreneurship journey started at 14 years old. But when I really consider myself an entrepreneur is when I realized what an entrepreneur was and that I was running my own business. And I learned what the term entrepreneur really was versus a business owner. And I decided to continue through that path of always working for myself and creating my own luck and my own future.
So it sounds like you were a doer from a very young age.
Yes, I was. I was living in Miami, Florida. I just came to the United States 2 years prior to that. So we were living in an apartment building. And I was raised by a single mother. My mom was taking care of us. And I figured I wanted some things. At that time, the beeper was like the newest thing. And I didn't want to be a burden on her. So I'm like, you know what? I need to make money. I need to figure out how to make some money. So I figured to me, the easiest thing to do at that time was, I live in an apartment building. There's a bunch of cars in the parking lot. Might as well go out and, take care of those, wash them. So I started knocking down on doors, asking people about what's their cars. And that's how everything started. By the time I got to the point that I had more cars that I could handle on my own. So I started hiring a couple of my friends. And then instead of me washing the cars, I started getting more cars. And I was just delegating. So I was like being the manager. I'm like, oh, this is cool. I don't have to do the hard work. I could hire people to do the hard work while I just, focus on doing the sales.
That's a big lesson to learn at a young age in terms of getting help. In those early times, what were the main challenges you had to overcome when you were younger or that you faced and had to overcome, and how did you overcome them?
I think one of the biggest challenges is like the belief in myself. Meaning that, can I really do this? Not being afraid of going out there and knocking. The rejection part, like every time you knocked on the door, not everybody will say yes. Most of the people will say yes at that time because I was young, 14-year-old kids. So, they don't want to reject kids, turn them down. But the moments that people would say, no, thank you, like that was a rejection. And just kind of getting that rejection when you're young and you're not like mentally strong yet. I think that was one of the biggest challenges, like hearing those no's. But after time, you overcome that challenge because you realize that, you know what? No doesn't hurt me. No doesn't kill me. It's just a no. Okay, move on to the next one. And the next one might be a yes. And I think that was like thinking back, I think that was one of the biggest challenges.
Yeah, just getting that one yes, it spurs you on to go to keep going.
Right. Not giving up, because that's one of the not giving up part starts, where a lot of people in life, they give up when they hear that no once or twice.
So then you went on to have a military background.
So at 19 years old, I joined the United States Marines, and I had a great career in the Marine Corps. It was amazing to me because I took the right path. I was able to get promoted really fast. I got to the point of becoming a sergeant in just 24 months, which is like almost close to breaking the Marine Corps record of getting promoted the fastest in all the Marines. I got to travel the world. So pretty much my whole military career was overseas versus like 90% of the Marines. They do their military career in military bases around the United States. So I was fortunate enough to be stationed in Japan, to be stationed in Russia, to be stationed in Santiago, Chile, to travel the world, to train with the federal government agencies, DEA, FBI, CIA. So I got to do a lot of amazing things while I was in the Marine Corps.
What would you say was the biggest takeaway from that experience?
I always say the biggest takeaway from that experience was that the values that were ingrained and instilled in me through that time that I was in the Marine Corps, and those values were honor, courage, and commitment.
Did you serve and see any action during that time?
Fortunately enough, not major action. I did get to see some incidents here and there, but nothing major like going to a war or nothing like that. I don't wish that upon anybody. My brother is a Marine. He went to Iraq. He did 2 tours. And again, very blessed he's back and he's alive. But I don't wish that upon anyone.
So then you've obviously gone on to be involved in a number of big businesses and leadership. Can you talk about those a bit? What specifically early on? Or was that after the military or during?
That was after the military. So when I left the Marine Corps, my first major company was E&D Development. It was a development company, a real estate development company. I left the Marine Corps. I started building houses. And to me, that was amazing. I grew really fast. I built that company to over $20 million worth of real estate in just a matter of a few years. And I was the right person at the right place at the right time, because by 2007, the market crashed, the real estate bubble happened, and I went bankrupt. From there on, I jumped into a new venture, which was the jewelry industry, like pawn shops, not exactly pawn shops, so everybody could get an idea. I mentioned a pawn shop, but what it really was, we were buying precious metals. We were buying gold, broken and unwanted jewelry from people. And I really loved this business because it was a win-win situation for everybody. So if you had broken jewelry that you no longer wanted, you came to our stores, you sold it to us, so you got paid for it. So that means it was a win for you because you got money. It was a win for me because I made money by recycling the jewelry. And it was a win for the environment because we used to recycle a lot of jewelry, a lot of gold, and that recycle became into new jewelry. So we were helping the environment at the same time. So it was a very green environmental company.
So it was a triple win, really.
It was a triple win. And to me, I like triple wins. I think a win-win is always good. But once you get to the point of having a triple win, I think it's amazing. I started that company in 2009. And from 2009 to 2014, I ran that company. And in 2014, we sold that company. And I made my first exit on a company in 2014. And I went back into real estate development, which was one of my passions, and I loved it. But when I went back to real estate development, I went back and I continued where I left off the last time, which was starting to build the high-end luxury homes. So I started building high-end luxury homes. And once I finished that part, that I was building the high-end luxury homes, I sold my company to my business partner. So that was my second exit in 2017. Moved to New Jersey, bought a transportation company. That transportation company only had 8 trucks, was doing $2 million worth of revenue. When I bought into the company, in less than 2 years, we took that company to over 40 trucks, doing over $15 million in revenue, got into the Inc. 5000, as you can see back there, the trophy and the trophy back here. We got into the Inc. 5000, one of the 5,000 fastest growing companies in the United States. And currently, that's one of the companies that I run. I still run my own development company. So we do luxury high-end and we do multi-family low-income development. And I call that my wealth building asset. My transportation company is my cash flowing asset. And then I own an investment fund where we invest in the Forex market. And I call that my passive income asset. And last but not least, I do what my passion is, which I teach motivated individuals how to be successful, how to live life to the fullest, how to enjoy life, how to scale companies. And to me, I always love teaching people because the only thing that nobody could ever take away from you is education. So if I'm able to teach somebody how to become successful, I know that's going to go on from generation to generations. So to me, that's fulfilling my God's calling.
Regardless of the type of company, because there's been a few different types, have you found consistent things between all of them that you've applied to all your businesses?
Yes. And the reason for every single business to be able to succeed to the level that they succeed, there's always the same framework that I use. And that's what people don't understand, that they realize that, my company is not growing I'm not able to take my company to the next level. I'm a slave to my company. What's going on? How can I grow it? And I always give the example, the example that I give people is, if you look at a car wash company, you're going to see the guy that has a pickup truck washing small, old little beat up cars all the time, charging $20 per car. But then you have this other guy that owns this corner location and is only doing high-end luxury vehicles and is charging between $500 to $3,000 to wash a car. And, he has 3, 4, 5 different locations of car washing. So the big difference of that is, number one, mindset, and number two, the vision that you have for your business. And a lot of people don't have a vision for their business. They just want to get into the business because they think owning a business, it's freedom, but they don't realize that when you own a business, it's a lot of work. It's a 24/7 job that you cannot put aside.
For somebody who might think starting a business or even just dealing with finances, for somebody who might think that it's kind of above them or rocket science or something that they can't necessarily master or get a hold of, what do you advise to people who just think this is something perhaps I can't do, whether it be a business or investment?
I think everybody could start their own business. Everybody has some type of experience, right? So if you're somebody that let's put an example, Burger King. If you work at Burger King for 5 years, you have experience on making burgers, making shakes, taking care of customers. So there is no reason why you could go out and have your own little restaurant where you sell burgers, you sell hot dogs, you sell milkshakes, and you take care of the customers, because you got that experience on a company that has scaled so much. So they have all the systems and the processes in place that if you really focus into the business side and you learn from the business side versus just sticking to, just following the steps 1, 2, 3, 4 that they teach you, you could do that business. If you're an employee and you work for a telephone company, for a call center, you realize that pretty much the process is simple. Hire people, make sure they answer the phone calls, they follow the script. The more people they hire, so go out there and look for clients that need people to answer their phones. So starting a business is not impossible and it's not hard. What is hard is scaling the business and getting to the point where you become financially free and getting to the point where your business runs by itself versus your business running you.
What are some of the mistakes that you've seen commonly in businesses?
There is a danger when a business goes really fast if you're not ready for the growth. So it has happened to me. It happens to me a couple of times when I wasn't ready for the growth. But the most important thing is, what do you do for that growth, to sustain that growth? So now what I learned is that when you have that vision and the vision is clear, you prepare yourself for the growth. So just to give you an example, when I knew on my transportation company that I was going to go from 8 trucks to 16 trucks, before I purchased the other additional 8 trucks, I make sure that I had the staff that will sustain that growth, because with the current staff that I had, it was impossible for me to be able to run all those 16 trucks. So in business, it's the same thing. Like in life, you can't have a tree that grows really tall if the roots are not really strong, right? So it's the same thing. If you put that analogy together, the roots have to be very strong so that tree could grow really tall. And that's the same thing in business. You have to make sure that you have that root, that foundation, that you have that support system that is going to sustain that growth so you don't tip over when you grow really fast.
Do you believe in risk, in a calculated risk?
I mean, now everything in my life is a calculated risk, right? So you need to learn what is your risk tolerance. So depending what the risk tolerance is for certain people, that's how you're going to grow. There's sometimes that we have to take huge chances, but we're going to say, you know what? I'm in for this. I know I'm going to make it. I'm going to risk it all. And that's the chance that we take as entrepreneurs when we start a new business, when we go out and start a business on our own, right? We're taking a huge risk because we don't know if that company is going to survive or not. It's like when we get married. We take a huge risk. Is this marriage going to work or not? What really matters is, are we going to make it work or not? Are we going to stay there? Are we going to be committed throughout this time? And when we get into hardship moments, are we going to walk away, or are we going to keep going and we're going to figure out how to get out of the hole and how to succeed from that? And that's one of the biggest things in my life. Again, going back and sharing an experience with you. Once I had my kids, my wife supports me 100% in everything that I want to do. And it come to the point of time that she told me, you could do whatever you want, but before you do anything in business, You have to make sure that the house is paid for and our kids' college are paid for. From there on, you can risk everything you want. So that's exactly what I did. I make sure that I took care of her demands, which is pay for my kids' college, make sure the house is paid for. So in case I lose everything, at least we have that on our back pocket. So from there on, I'm able to risk 100%. I'm able to be like, take the most intense risk that I want. But again, to me, it's always calculated risks. And based on my risk tolerance, I'm going to say, am I okay risking this amount to get 100% return? How much am I willing to lose to get this type of return? And I think in life, that's very important that you realize what is your risk tolerance. And there's certain things that are going to be higher risk. There's some things that are going to be smaller risk. But there's always a risk to reward ratio. The less that you risk, the less the reward is going to be. You can't expect a huge reward if you don't risk.
How important in all of the big decisions you make, not only business but in life, how important is your gut feeling or your instincts?
Gut feeling is one of the big ones. You have to trust your gut feeling. There comes a point in time that your gut is going to tell you, this is not the right thing to do, and if that tells you it's not the right thing to do, walk away from it. But there's sometimes that you can't just trust your gut. You gotta trust the analysis that you do. Again, it goes back into the risk to reward, the due diligence that you make into that investment that you're going to make. They're going to be good. And I think the most important thing that I learned throughout this whole journey is what I'm going to do. Is it aligned with my values? If it's aligned with your values, by all means, it's okay. But if it goes against your values, it goes against your morals, it's never going to work out, because no matter how much money you make, you're always going to feel bad on the inside because it went against what you believe for and what you stand for.
I've learned this myself, actually. Yeah, it has to align with your core values, or it's never going to end well, I think. When it comes to investment, what's your preference? Say, are you more a stock market person, or you've obviously got background in property, so is there these days it's all changing.
I really love real estate. Real estate has created a lot of my wealth. I have pretty much, I could say 80% of my net worth is invested in real estate. I believe in real estate because I've been doing it for 22 years. So real estate, it's my wealth creation vehicle. But in the past 3 years, I have really got heavy into the stock market side, the investment side in stocks, not only the stock market, but the Forex market, precious metal market, because that one is a more liquid type of market. And that's a market where, you can make, that's a very risky market. Why? Because you can make returns of 30, 40% in a year. And as well, you could lose everything, in a matter of moments, in days. And we have taken big hits in my investment that, today I put $20,000 into something and the next day is worth $3,000. And then you go put, to the same amount in something else. And then the next day, you make $100,000. So to me, that's more of a gamble. But again, I only play on that market, on that side of the investment field with money that I could afford to lose because I'm not a professional on it. So what do? Is I let the professionals invest for me. So I invest my money with a financial advisor that he has studied this. He's an expert at this. So he could take my money and make it grow the way on a consistent way. But what I like about this investment is that as me being an entrepreneur, I always used to say, if I take this $100,000, I could double this in a year because I know what to do. But in order to double that, I have to put the work into it. I have to go find a property. I have to develop a property. I have to flip the property. And of course, I'm going to make 100% return on investment, but I'm putting the work into it. When I invested with somebody else, when I invested with my financial advisor, my return is going to be maybe 10 to 12% in a year, but I didn't have to lift a finger to make that investment and return. So we have to understand that it comes a point in our life that we work so hard for our money that we have to let our money work hard for us. So now we could enjoy life. We could do the things that we want to do, even though they're not going to be great returns or amazing returns like we're able to do it, but at least we're enjoying the fruits of the hard money working for us. And we could just sit back and play with our thumbs or whatever we want to do.
Sometimes I think it's interesting what we would do if money was off the table. And I know myself, I would still be trying to do the same things that align with my values, regardless of the income. So to do the both and generate the income from doing what you love, to me is the dream in a way.
Yes.
What are your big plans for the where are you at now, and what are your big plans in a business sense and personal too? But what are your goals coming up?
The goals always change year by year. If you want to take a look at this year's goals, just go to my social media. You'll see I always post at the beginning of the year all my year goals, and I always make a follow through. And when the 6-month time frame to make sure that I'm aligned with my goals. So my goals change year to year, but the goals that do not change are always continue my relationship with God. It's always number one priority. Make sure that I have a good relationship with my faith, with my God. And that's why I call myself the God-made millionaire, because through him, I have acquired and I have everything that I have in my life. Number two is having that relationship with my wife, building that relationship and building that strong bond with my wife, because I want to be married for forever. Like everybody else says, when we make that commitment of getting married, you want to make sure that that marriage lasts forever. So kind of sticking to that commitment and making sure that when my kids leave the house, we have something in common to bond, so we don't drift apart like a lot of people do when the kids leave the house. So that's number two. And in business side, just always continue growing my business, starting something from scratch, building a new business, exiting the companies that I'm in, growing, making sure that I'm able to help as many people as I can, because I know the bigger that my business grows, the more families and the more lives I'm able to impact. So to me, that's a huge thing. And my biggest one right now that I'm working on, it's on my coaching career, my public speaking career, meaning that sharing these experiences like I'm sharing with you today of, you can live life to the fullest, you can be successful, you can do the life that you want, you can fulfill the dreams that you had as a child of having all the things that you want, material things and non-material things. Just how do you manifest that? And to me, that has been one of the biggest blessings, that this year I really decided that now it's my time and my gut calling to start helping people out, get to that point in their life.
Yeah, awesome, man. Where can people find you?
You can find me on my website, edwincarrion.com. If you go to my website, you're going to have a link to sign up for an email, and you're going to get a free template that I created, which gives you the 9 secrets of funding your life and business for success.
To finish with some of my small challenges, do you have anything you could recommend, like a small challenge around finance or around goal setting, or just a little thing that you can do on a daily basis?
Yes. Let's start with, I like the challenge and I love to do challenges. The first challenge that I will say, before you get into finance, before you get into anything like that, my challenge to you will be to wake up out of bed every day, look at yourself in the mirror, and tell yourself 4 things that you're grateful for, and do that for 30 days. You're going to notice how much that changes your life. Just being grateful for 4 things in your life every single morning that you wake up and you look at yourself in the mirror.
Yeah, there's a lot to be said for gratefulness, just taking stock of where you're at and what you have, as opposed to like being focused on what you don't have. I'm definitely going to try that, and I'll keep you posted. That would be cool of how it goes. So I appreciate you throwing down that challenge.
Perfect. I want, so make sure you contact me after 30 days. I want to see that challenge. I want to see how it went.
I will, actually. I will. It'll be an ongoing thing. All right. Thanks. Is there anything else you want to just offer the listeners in terms of advice if somebody's struggling in some way, just to get going, as to finish off?
Yeah. One thing, again, follow me on my social media channels and reach out. One of the things that we tend to forget as humans is that, we all like to help each other. We have this human inside of us that we want to help each other out. So if you're struggling, if you're having a problem, financial, relationship, any kind of problem in your life, you just kind of want to figure out how do you get ahead. Just reach out to people, ask for help. You have to become an ask hole and ask for help. There's no reason they're going to deny you the help. If you want my help, just send me a message. Edwin, hey, I have a question on this, and I'll answer it. I have no problem in answering. Just give me a little bit of time because I will get a lot of messages on a daily basis, but I always get back to everyone.
It's surprising how willing and how much people want to help. So I fully encourage people to reach out to you. And it's awesome that you take the time to get back to people. Thanks, Edwin, man. Awesome to talk to you. Short, but a lot of really cool little nuggets there, little takeaways. And I'm looking forward to this challenge. So thank you for your time.
No, thank you for having me. And to everyone out there, thank you for listening. I hope you had a great time.